Yes, you read it right. The title of this video is this, and you know, I also see this content from 2 other YouTubers, and I really want to share my thoughts about this too. Cause you know, I'm a bit of a copycat, as some people say. So okay, I was in the middle of editing my other video, and I saw this huge 6-7 brainrot spawn right in the middle of the admin abuse event in my recording. And I suddenly thought of those 2 videos I watched, this one, and I was like, I have to make my own video about this. So here we are. If you find this video entertaining, please hit that sub button. I'm no comparison to the lots of big YouTubers out there, so your one click really matters because it took me like 12 hours to edit and record this, guys. Please and thank you. Let's rewind a bit. The game launched on August 1st, 2025, and a month ago, it became one of the big games on Roblox. Big hype, big trust. The same dev behind Grow a Garden. Everyone expected something solid. It's good, it's new for the player, and it was trending because it's a brainrot game. It's simple. But here's the thing. While many games drift into pay-to-win traps over time, this one seems to have started there. And I didn't realize it because it looked good at first glance. All the excitement, yet beneath it was one core truth. Updates have become cycles of, if you want good brainrots, you pay. Because the game is new to us, we're like, oh wow, they spawned so many good brainrots during the admin abuse event. Wow, the devs are so kind. Because here's the moment that made it real for me. 1 hour before an update, yes, 1 hour, because you know the admin abuse event was happening, admin spawned a huge brainrot boss. Unkillable, maxed out seeds didn't matter. Plants that cost tens of thousands of in-game resources didn't matter. The only way to kill the boss was by using a wheelbarrow that can only be bought with Robux. This wasn't optional pay support, this was you cannot participate unless you pay. Like, I'm a new YouTuber and I've only been making content for almost 2 months and I can't afford those. But, I mean, it's an admin abuse event and it just feels like the people who can't spend don't belong, you know that? Like, we're just there to boost the concurrent player count every update, but we're not actually part of that spawning of good brainrots. I mean, it's sad for those who can't afford to spend Robux, you know? So at first, there was a problem with how the brainrots were spawning, which is why the admin abuse event got extended even longer. And if you look closely, Gillette even said, if I spawn brainrot now, it should work now. That basically confirms they were already aware of the bug and were trying to fix it. Now here's where it gets interesting. This was the first 6-7 brainrot he spawned after saying that. And if you notice in the clip, I used my frost blower right there. It stayed locked onto the brainrot for so long while my other plants were attacking it too, yet nothing happened. No damage, no effect, it just stood there like it was completely invincible. And that's because of what happened during the admin abuse event last Saturday. Those exact brainrots had HP bars reaching hundreds of millions, literally unkillable by any normal plant. You could throw your entire setup at them and still do nothing. The only plants that could even scratch those things were the ones bought from the black market, which I don't have. And honestly, we shouldn't even support duplicated or unfair plants in the first place. So it really makes you question, why spawn brainrots that can only be killed by a wheelbarrow or black market plants? What's even the point of that? It completely destroys the balance of the event. Regular players are left helpless while only those with premium or pay-to-win setups can actually participate. That's not a fair event. That's pure pay-to-win disguised as a test. And I watched in Codaisy's vlog that his 167 brainrot is nerfed. Okay, let us watch that part. I will skip this to where he said that. As you guys can see, he said that they nerfed it. Who wouldn't get mad about that, right? Now, I know some will say it's only 45 Robux. Fair. For some, it might be nothing. But what I'm talking about is the principle. For many players, Robux is something they saved or were gifted. And when you spend it believing you're getting something fair, and then you discover you were tricked, that trust vanishes. And trust matters more than any pet or egg. Because once trust dies, you're just playing a transaction. And this is where the bigger lens comes in. I'm not just mad at the devs, I'm questioning the platform. Roblox as a platform is massive. Creators, young and old, are launching worlds inside it. The earning model is real. Developers earn Robux, convert to real cash via DevX. This structure forces choices. A game doesn't survive on players who never spend. One dev forum post even states, the key is how you implement it, guiding players to better items that help them rather than forcing them into a pay-to-win situation. Yes, that's true. Like for example, in 99 Nights in the Forest, all of the classes that you need to progress more in the game are classes. You need to buy them using diamonds, and you can buy diamonds using Robux. For me, it's okay because you really need classes. Just like in Plants vs. Brainrots, passes like the VIP and extra space are must-haves. Like, if you have Robux, these are the first things you need to buy. So yes, developers may argue we needed to monetize. Fine, that's real. But monetization and unfair design are two entirely different things. The question is, did the devs have to build an event where you must pay to participate, or did they choose to? The research says choice exists. Game design matters. One developer on Roblox wrote, instead of pushing expensive items, the recommender system suggests items that address the player's weak spots, improving their stats without forcing them to make a costly purchase. It's about offering value at a lower price point. The difference lies in how you implement it. Selling raw power gives a competitive edge purchased by money. That is pay to win. Back to the game. That event where the good brain rot appears? That moment was the reveal. Because you can set aside update fatigue and event redundancy and focus on what players actually care about. Fairness. You can ignore the same layout or visuals being reused. We all can. But you can't ignore being locked out unless you pay. And in the Discord, every single person screaming L in chat didn't care about lighting or map design. They felt excluded. That's the moment the community breaks, and when the community breaks, the game dies. Because yes, F2P players still matter. They are the backbone of any game's ecosystem. If you design a game so that F2P players always feel like they're playing catch-up, then your game becomes about spenders only, and that kills your long-term health. We're not just talking about the next update, we're talking about the foundation. It's not just one game either. This is happening across countless Roblox titles. The pattern, launch, soft paywalls, hard paywalls, dies the inclusiveness, game dies. Studies show this leads to negative player engagement, frustration, and toxic community shifts. It's no longer just optional spending, it's participation gating. Now, I'm not naive. I understand servers cost money. I understand updating takes time and effort. But when the design shifts away from how do we reward players to how do we make them spend, then you're in dangerous territory. Because when you pause and think, what is the point of playing if the only way to win is to pay? The answer becomes, playing is secondary, spending is primary, and that's an inversion. As you can see, the concurrent user count for Plants vs. Brainrots is a bit low right now. Before, it was way ahead of Grow a Garden and Steal a Brainrots. And if we look at the CCU of Plants vs. Brainrots here on Rollimons, it's usually only 400,000 to 500,000, but during the admin abuse event or the event last Saturday, the peak was almost 8 million. And I want to check if it was the same last week, so on Rollimons you can only see 1 week, and then I searched here on RoMonitor, which covers 2 weeks. And as you guys can see, last week only 7 million people joined the event. I mean, it's not that bad though, because 7 million playing at the same time is still pretty insane. But a week ago, this game beat Steal a Brainrot with 25 million CCU for the event. And let's look at the CCU for Steal a Brainrot. Both Rollimons and RoMonitor show it's usually between 700,000 to 1 million players. And the peak of the last two Steal a Brainrot events, it was still over 20 million. They remain at that peak every week, even though at some point they were beaten by Plants vs. Brainrots. Here is where we can see the pattern. Grow a Garden and Plants vs. Brainrots have the same owner, and they have some of the same developers on both games. And we can see that the players are not happy with what the developers are doing. Let's take a step back for a moment and really look at what's happening here. When we talk about the rise of pay-to-win systems in games like Plants vs. Brainrots, it's easy to point fingers at the developers, at Roblox, even at the community. But maybe the truth isn't that simple. Maybe what we're seeing right now is part of a much bigger picture, a balance between creativity, sustainability, and the reality of what it takes to keep a game alive on this platform. Because let's be honest, building a game on Roblox today isn't as easy as it used to be. The player expectations are higher, the competition is tougher, and the cost to maintain updates keeps growing. Servers, testing, bug fixes, constant patches, all of that takes time and resources. And most of that time, it's unpaid. So when developers introduce monetization features like premium passes, wheelbarrows, or faster progression items, it's not always out of greed. Sometimes it's a way to keep the project running, to reward the people who built it, to make sure the game can continue existing months down the line. But here's where the challenge begins. The moment that line between supporting the game and buying an advantage starts to blur, players notice. Not because they hate developers, but because they value fairness. Like when the devs spawn brainrots that feel impossible to defeat without Robux, it doesn't just make players frustrated, it makes them feel powerless. It changes the experience from earning your way to spending your way, and that's not a feeling any gamer enjoys. Still, I don't think this means the game is doomed or that developers are doing something wrong. In fact, I think this is a moment of adjustment for both sides. Developers are learning how to balance gameplay and monetization in real time, while players are learning to navigate a platform that's evolving into something more complex than it used to be. Roblox itself is pushing toward professional-grade experiences, which means the economics behind it are shifting too. The real question isn't why is this pay to win, it's how can we make this fair for both players and developers? Because both sides are important. Without players, a game has no heartbeat. But without developers, there's no world to explore in the first place. And finding that middle ground is what separates short-lived trends from timeless games. And you know what's interesting? Even with all the noise about monetization, people are still here. Players are still exploring, still testing strategies, still forming communities around events. That means the heart of the game, the curiosity, the teamwork, the sense of discovery, it's still alive. It just needs to be guided in the right direction. So instead of asking why are they making it pay to win, maybe we should start asking what can be improved. Could there be alternative ways to balance the system, like giving free players longer routes to achieve the same goal? Or creating reward paths that scale with time rather than money? Could Roblox itself provide better tools for developers to reward engagement, not just purchases? These are questions worth exploring because they push the entire ecosystem forward. And to the players, don't lose hope in the community just because of frustration. Speak up, yes, but also stay constructive. Developers actually read feedback more than you think. They notice what gets repeated, and often they want to make changes too. Because believe it or not, most devs didn't get into Roblox to sell items. They started because they loved creating experiences people enjoy. And to the developers, players aren't your enemies. The reason people are vocal about these issues is because they care. They want to stay. They want to enjoy the world you built without feeling left behind. That passion, the one that drives people to grind for hours or discuss strategies on Discord, that's the same energy that keeps a community alive long after an event ends. At the end of the day, pay to win doesn't have to mean the end of fairness. It just means there's a system that needs refining, a balance that needs to be found. And maybe this moment, this debate we're all having right now, is actually a good thing, because it shows people still care enough to talk about it. And that matters. So yeah, maybe Plants vs. Brainrots feels overwhelming right now with its monetization and high stakes events. But it's also proof that Roblox games are evolving fast. That creators are experimenting, players are adapting, and the platform is becoming more ambitious than ever. What matters next is how we respond, how we shape these systems into something sustainable and enjoyable. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. A game that's fun, fair, and worth coming back to. Not just a shop, not just a grind, but a world we actually want to grow in. And that's something we can still build together. Thank you always for always watching.